Hey guys, we should be live, I think, I hope. My link is. We'll check out the link. I haven't actually looked at it in a while. So yeah, we'll go over some coins. Obviously, gonna start with Bitcoin given its volatility. And then we'll go over some altcoins because that's what's on everyone's mind, I think. So yeah, we'll go with those. You guys doing all right? Hope everyone is having a good Wednesday evening or morning, or I mean, for the Asian people among us, good the Thursday morning. What's up? Not much, man. Not much. And Bitcoin isn't. ETH is. We good. We good. Good to hear. Good to hear. So yeah, before we start, big shout out to Bybit for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate it. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. And yeah, evening all, evening man, evening. So yeah, high time frames on Bitcoin, still all good, right? We've put in a little bit of wick here, but that's unsurprising given this rally, right? Nothing like, even if this turned red, that wouldn't be surprising, right? On the high time frames anyway. This is a bullish trend, no reason to be too bearish. High time frame, I mean, even if this pulled back to 20k, that'd be completely fine, right? Not saying it will, but just saying like there's a lot of room in either direction on the monthly chart. Same is true for the weekly. I mean, next kind of support is 20k, and then there's nothing, but there's also no resistance given when price discovery, right? So that's always the one thing that you kind of have to balance is, okay, where's the next support? Where can I get high time frame buys in? But also where's the next resistance, and does this even make sense, right? And in this case, we have no resistance and we pretty much have no support. So any kind of trades that you have or like that you're going to take, if the high leverage obviously should be with tight invalidation because there's a lot of room in either direction to go. New mic? No, it's just me in an empty room because I'm moving places and my office is empty besides my two monitors and a chair and a desk. So yeah, it's pretty different, I'd say. But yeah, I'll try to keep the echo to a minimum, but it might echo a little bit. Can't do anything about it. No internet at the new place yet, so this will have to do. So yeah, the weekly still looking good. A lot of room to go in either direction. So that's not really helpful either, right? You cannot really take much trades off of there. And then you have the daily, and that does have some resistances and some supports, right? So nearest support is this kind of daily time frame support resistance level. I mean, it's done its job several times now. 3 tests in here, and then another test in here. I mean, that's close enough anyway. That hasn't really happened in a long time, where we have a support that gets tested this many times. Last time that happened was down here. Infinite Bit came in and just pushed it upwards. Since then, I mean, the only kind of supports that we've had, or the only support tests that we've had, have been just one-offs, right? You get one chance, basically. I mean, here's like 2 in a row, and you dip a little bit, and then you go up, right? So like this is all like one test. This is a little bit more. So that might just mean that we're in for some chop, that we're in for some consolidation, even though I'd be really surprised if this just ended in like a 2 months, 3 months sideways period, given that this is a parabolic trend, right? And parabolic trends in general tend to not end with just sideways movements, and even less so in crypto. So you'd expect some bigger moves in either direction, right? And I think if 33k support is lost, I mean, that's just a straight, like that's going to be almost a straight line down to 26. And I think the same is true for this resistance, right? So if we kind of smash through 38K, I think there's no reason why it would stop anywhere before all-time high. If not, like I could see it go to 50K from there easily. So it's kind of like we're in this range, and usually whenever you're in this kind of range, I'm like, okay, just you don't necessarily have to pick a position. You can just wait for it to break out. And I mean, that's been working really well, right? So you've had all these breakouts, and they've just been running breakouts, right? So you get in after the breakout or during the breakout, and then you're fine. In this case, it's a little bit difficult, I would say, because I could see, let's say we go up, right? We put in a green candle at something like this, and then the next candle is just gonna be like a monster green candle, which is really difficult to get into, right? So that is what I would expect if it goes up, and the same is true for the downside, right? So let's say we go down, we close down at support, even like I could even see it, like if we close at support, that it just breaks down the day after and then just puts in a massive red candle. So both of these kind of situations make entry almost impossible if you're at least looking for kind of high time frame closes to get in. So in this situation, in my opinion, you either do nothing and then just, I mean, buy support down here, or try to kind of chase the breakout if you get to, or you just like you chill, or you just pick your position, right? If you're bullish, you take the trade, and if you get stopped out, you get stopped out, and the same is true for the bears, right? So I think that's pretty much the only kind of way you can play this. I don't think there's going to be an easy entry below this level or above this level. We've had it easy in theory. I mean, obviously it's not easy trading this. It looks easy in hindsight, but it's not. But like I said, if this breaks down or up, I think it's going to be pretty difficult to kind of chase and get into. How to play this if you're already balls deep in altcoins? I mean, then you've kind of taken the choice out of your hands, right? You're just praying that the market is going to be moving in your favor. So, I mean, if you're all into something already, I mean, there's nothing you can change, right? I mean, you probably didn't get invalidated on your altcoin positions. So it's kind of like, okay, you're just praying to God that whatever this move is going to be good for altcoins. And in my opinion, it's probably not going to be. I still think like as long as this goes sideways, you might see some good altcoin windows. But I think like if we break up, I think that's going to be a serious blow off top where we go just completely nuts. And I think if we go down, that will look like a macro top. So both of those wouldn't be good for altcoins. But as long as this doesn't break out or like go sideways, you're probably fine in the altcoin department. But yeah, in my opinion, the time to get into the altcoins is when you either have broken down and then you add support, and then you're thinking about, okay, I want to buy Bitcoin now, and then you can actually look at the altcoins and you might find better opportunities on the altcoins. Or if it breaks up and then starts dipping, and then you can kind of get into altcoins as well. In general, in my experience, if you just kind of get into the altcoins, what you can do is obviously trade the altcoins during chop like this. But what you shouldn't do, at least in my experience, something that I haven't had much luck with over the years, is get into altcoins while Bitcoin is going sideways for a swing position, right? So let's say you're looking for a swing on any of these altcoins, and they start trending up while Bitcoin is going sideways, and then you're like, oh, I'm just going to keep this. But the moment Bitcoin makes a big move, and I mean, like I said, this is a parabolic move, so it's bound to make a big move. The moment it does that, you're going to be in the altcoin and you're going to take the same beating Bitcoin is. I mean, if Bitcoin goes up, the altcoin Bitcoin pair is just going to drop. Maybe the USD pair goes up. And if Bitcoin goes down, both pairs are probably going to go down, right? So you're kind of in this situation where I think there's a really good opportunity to take trades in this because people are bored and are punting stuff. But it's pretty dangerous to kind of get new swing positions going. But then again, we've had some big moves, so we'll talk about some of those. And some sectors have been doing really well. So there's obviously outliers before people start shouting at me again. So, I mean, it obviously depends. When I'm talking about altcoins in general, I mean altcoins in general. I don't mean, okay, your bag that has been outperforming for years or whatever. That's a little bit different. So, yeah. It would be so healthy for Bitcoin if it pulls to around 26K. I agree, but it doesn't have to. I mean, this could easily go higher. The one thing that I'm watching right now, and what I've been watching for the last few days, even though like I haven't really been around too much, given I have a lot of stuff to kind of figure out in real life. But what I've been kind of having my eyes on is this 4-hour support and this 4-hour resistance up here, right? So those are the only two areas that really interest me on the short term. I think as long as we're trading below here, there's a good chance that this just starts breaking down, right? So far, like this 4-hour candle is kind of trying to reclaim it, and that'd be good first move. Wouldn't really make me too like mega bullish. I think like the moment we start trading above this resistance, that's where you get like super bullish, and that's where you could expect Bitcoin to kind of break to the upside massively on the daily chart that we talked about earlier. But as long as it's trading below this 4-hour resistance, I wouldn't get too aggressive. Just doesn't make much sense. Like if you're a hyper bull and it starts closing here, right, above this resistance, you have like an invalidation that's pretty neat, right? You have an invalidation below this low, shouldn't take it out because really like this has already been the stop run. And you failed the range, reclaimed it, all that kind of stuff. That's technically not bearish. Something that does happen at the tail end of trends is that it chops, falls through a level, tries to reclaim, it goes up a little bit, and then just falls down again. And if that should happen, right, if you get stopped out here, if you're bull, and you kind of have your stops there, and it just moves down and then bounces again, that's typically a really, really bad sign. I mean, we've done it here before. I should make this a little bit cleaner so people can actually see what I'm talking about. So something that you don't want to see, like the worst thing, and I've talked about this before, is these kind of continuous moves lower, where it just stops people out on SFPs all over like several times in a row. It's usually a really bad sign. So if this gives out, I think this just completely rolls over, the entire market does. And then I would expect 26K, right? So I mean, that is kind of the level where I'd be looking at, like if I wanted to chase it on a trade, that's where I would be looking at, right? If it does lose 33K, I'd be surprised if it didn't roll over completely. And if I was looking for the bull side to trade it, I would want to see a close above this H4 resistance. And then, I mean, the stop is pretty much down here because, like I said, if it does take that out again, it's probably going to roll over. And even if it chops you out and then goes sideways or something, I mean, you don't want to be trading in those kind of conditions anyway, right? So those are like the two kind of things that I can see. The aggressive trade would be getting long in here. A little bit less aggressive and more cautious trade would be getting up here, getting long up here. And then, I mean, if you're bear and you're looking for a short, I mean, this is as close to invalidation as you can get based on the fact that if it does close back in the range, you probably would want to get out. And I mean, if it does drop back below it again, you just get back in, right? That's kind of how these kind of ranges go. They usually chop people up to bits, but you kind of have to just deal with a stop out or two to kind of catch the next trending move, because the next move is probably going to be trending. Are you in your new place? Sounds like you're in a massive empty room. That's kind of true. I'm not in the new place. I'm in the old place, which I've stripped bare, and just don't have internet at the new place yet. And I cannot really recommend dealing with German internet providers. It's the worst thing that you can imagine. So that's Bitcoin for me. Like I said, I don't think it's necessarily the best kind of trending environment for the altcoins. Like I said, when Bitcoin goes sideways, they put in good moves, but they're probably not gonna be trending. But I mean, ETH's been a massive outlier. We talked about this the last 2 weeks, I think. The moment it started closing above here, just expecting higher. Now we have this inverse head and shoulders thing sitting here, which I mean, I wouldn't want to dare to kind of counter trade. Doesn't make much sense. Is it a resistance? I mean, this weekly resistance still obviously in place, but I don't really see a good reason why I would want to be bearish this when it's looking like this, right? If it does start breaking down again, fine. I mean, you can pick your trades then. I don't really see why I would, like, when you have a setup like this over, like, I mean, this, how long has this been setting up? 860 days. I don't really see why you'd be aggressively looking for kind of short entries or anything like that. Just doesn't make much sense. If anything, dips for buying, and I mean, this has given a little bit of a nice dip into support and then moved further up, right? So looking good to me. I don't really see much reason for me to be bearish this. I could see Bitcoin ruining this for a little bit, so could see it move a little bit down again, but I wouldn't want to just fade this just based on the fact that, I mean, it's just looking good, right? So if anything, I think ETH's an outlier on the positive side, just looking strong on the Bitcoin pair. And I mean, if you see something like this, right? So look at this, you're like, okay, this is weekly resistance, right? Where's the next support that I want to kind of trade intraday? You can kind of do it like this. So you have the weekly resistance, you keep it on your chart, you show it. This is the weekly, it shows that it's so you're gonna see this box on the weekly and the daily, right? And then you just go to a lower time frame chart, in this case the daily, and you just see if it acts as support. And in this case, dipped into weekly resistance, turned into daily support. So just a little bit like if you're trading the lower time frames. I mean, this is like you see it dip into the daily kind of support-ish, and you go on the lower time frames and just see what's up there. But yeah, ETH's not looking bad. I think that's one of the major outliers in the market right now. Because if you look at other coins, like Litecoin, I mean, that's not looking too terrible. It's just looking choppy, right? And this goes wherever Bitcoin wants to, right? So I would actually move this down here now, based on the fact that that's just been used so much. So this is the next resistance. If it does manage to close back above, then it's probably going to go up. And I'm going to re-establish my position. If you remember, I put my position up here, started buying there, then got this green candle, which is pretty nice. I think it was like a 20% move upwards from the buys. Yeah. And then it just dipped back into support, dipped back into support. And I was like, okay, this is too much for me. It just doesn't make much sense to hold it. So I got out and it broke down, and now it's retesting this resistance, right? So that's not too bullish, but it's not too bearish either, because it's really just chopping in here. I would want to see it reclaim resistances as support though, for me to get bullish on it. Why is German internet so bad? I mean, because it's kind of like the same story everywhere where internet is bad, when you just have one or two providers, and we used to only have one in Germany. So they could just make all the money and not reinvest it. So it's kind of still the case where you only have like a few big ones and no one even can compete with them. So they make all the money and it just treat people badly. Okay. Don, if you look at the monthly, if we break down in the next 2 weeks and Bitcoin doesn't pretty much recover immediately, that will look pretty bad, right? I don't think so, no. Like, I mean, this candle, like, let's say this turns red, right? Where does it pull back? Like, even if we get a pullback, right? It maybe goes to like 20, like goes to this wick. It could even go like, I mean, on this chart, it could even kind of revisit 14K bounce. And then you would kind of think about, okay, does it look bad now? Because then you would be worried about a lower high. But it doesn't really look bad on the high time frames. I mean, this is a strong uptrend into sideways, into a breakout, right? Even if, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but even if it were to go down, you'd expect a massive bounce from like 14K, which is the next support, on the high time frame, right? Into like at worst a lower high, if not just further trending. So this isn't a bad looking chart. Obviously, when you hear 14K, that's scary, right? And I'm not saying I'm expecting 14K, but even if it went to 14K, nothing would be, like this wouldn't be a bearish chart even at 14K. Just a matter of perspective, right? Because I mean, we were trading at 14K just a few months ago. Like this is just 3 months of expansion, right? So you can kind of see the bullish trend, and usually Bitcoin doesn't retest these, so wouldn't be too worried about it. But if it does happen, I mean, I would buy it. Okay, back to Litecoin. Actually, we could do some coins of you, like you guys could give me some coins, because my coins, I mean, we've gone through them so much. I know someone asked for Link, so I'm going to do Link, but other than that, I'll just let you guys handle your coins for me. You give me the tickers, we go through them. I think that's going to be fun. Much better than me looking through my old list. But yeah, like I said, first we go over Link, see what's up there. And I mean, do you guys remember when we last talked about Link, where I was like, this could even go up ×2 against Bitcoin and still be bearish? And I mean, it's tried, man. It's tried. It's always like almost went up ×2 from there. So yeah, the daily time frame retested this breakdown level. I wouldn't want to be shorting into this. Like I've been shorting Link a bunch on this entire way down, right? For me, this doesn't like. I know that this is a really good technical setup to short into, because I mean, you have your stop loss there. You can kind of trade it to new lows if you wanted to. For me, it's just, I don't like these clean retests. Never been too fond of them. I'd much rather try to long a reclaim of that level. If I don't get it, I don't get it. I don't really care. I've made more than enough money with Link. Like if you remember back, we shorted this pretty much as a stream from up here to pretty much down here. So now it's all the way back to where we stopped shorting it. So yeah, and on the USD pair, it's obviously made a new all-time high. It's kind of using the old all-time high as support now, and yeah, I don't really see much reason to be too worried about this one either. I'd be getting bearish again on Link if it does start trading back above below 14, 15. So if it does lose the support again, I think we're just going straight back to this one. But given the fact that we're trading like way above it, there's no reason to worry. If anything, like if you wanted to get into long, you can add your chance at this retest. That's why I like the weekly candles so much, because you can just kind of use the high as support level, and usually that's where you start bouncing. But yeah, like I said, lose this and I'd get worried again. I'd start shorting again. But until that happens, no real reason to. Even though the Bitcoin pair is very, very clearly in a bearish trend, right? I mean, it's just, this is the first relief that we've gotten basically. So that's usually, it's been in the past, that's been my bread and butter, just getting like stepping in front of this. Just saying, okay, this is probably not gonna take it back. Right now, I don't have the time to do it. Like shorting this kind of stuff is way more time takes way more time than just longing it, because if you're shorting and you're doing something wrong, it can get scary real fast. So can't recommend it when you're not sitting in front of the computer all the time. Longing is much more brainless. You just long and set your stop and then move away. Shorting is a little bit different. So not really in my interest. But like I said, if it does reclaim this resistance, I'm gonna look for longs. The only problem is that we're actually gonna trade into this weekly resistance. So it's gonna be a little bit difficult to trade around, but I think it's gonna be fine. Okay, a shitload of such suggestions. Jesus, that word is terrible for me to say. Suggestions. I think that was it. I will die at 14K. I mean, I'd be very surprised if it went to 14K. Like, I could see in my wildest dreams, I could see 18K, just where people that kind of have like the liquidation below 20K get wrecked. But even that is like quite aggressive. I think 26K is kind of the best target that you're gonna get on the bear side. And then once you're there, you can still make new lower targets if you want to. Like that's one of the biggest issues I see people like bears have in general. They always target so low, and then even if they get the right kind of entry, they're targeting way too low, right? So let's say you're a bear, and I mean I was a bear. Best example for me, I was a bear at 12K, right? And then it dropped, and I was originally targeting down here, right? And now what I see a lot of bears do is they have this target and they're never gonna get out before they get stopped out, right? So you kind of short this, it goes down, and then you just stick in the trade. And that's just the wrong attitude you have when you're shorting something, because when you're shorting something, the worst thing that can happen to you is just sitting there and just not doing anything. Because when you're shorting something, you want to see quick movements down, because otherwise you're probably wrong. Like, let's say you're shorting here, it goes down, goes up, goes down, goes up. If you're sitting in this, it's gonna stress you out like hard. And in general, this can only go down 100%, right? It can only go to 0. Whereas it can multiply a shitload more than 100%, right? So shorts always have to kind of have an invalidation one, and then also kind of your time horizon for the trade. So I was shorting here, saw it drop, saw it get absorbed, and I was just like, okay, I'm getting out. And I think the same thing is true at this point too. Like, let's say you're a bear and you're targeting 20K, right? I mean, that's fine to do, but if you see like it moved down here and then it's just getting absorbed again, you don't want to be in that trade anymore. So you get out and then you just reassess from there, at least in my opinion. I've seen too many people just stubbornly stick to a position and get wiped. And it's easier to stick to long positions than it is to stick to short positions. Okay, sorry, I kind of went off topic there. Neo. Shit, that looks pretty damn shitty in my opinion. Like, this is where I start getting the issue with the Altseason cries, because I mean this is just a bearish chart, right? Obviously we have a really nice move here from support. This is pretty impressive V shape here. So I mean this is an amazing bounce, right? And this is pretty much happening while Bitcoin is doing this. So like I said earlier, Bitcoin is doing this. You want to be in and out of these trades, right? So you look for buy, you see something that you like, you get in, you have a target, you get out. So in this case, the target would obviously be the resistance up ahead, but like it can be more. I mean, you can just look for it on the lower time frames. I mean, I bet there's something better. There's actually nothing better even on the lower time frames. So I mean, your target would be here. If it stalls too long, you get out. And because like on the altcoins, the opposite is true with the shorting and longing, right? Because the trend is clearly bearish for these altcoins. So you want to get in and out quick if you're on the long side, unless, and this is like pretty much the same mistake people do, right? So they get in, get a nice entry, they see it bounce, and then they're like, okay, this is going to be the trend reversal, and then just stick with the trade. And in most cases, that ends up poorly. I mean, it's ended up poorly here. This ended up working quite nicely for a short time, and then just made new lows. All of these bounces have been short-lived, right? Doesn't mean it has to stay that way, but this is a downtrend. So for now, it does. So that's how I would be trading them. That's how I've been trading them. And for me, where does that kind of relationship change? And you can kind of see this on pretty much any altcoin. You have a range, even if it's a tiny one like this. Have a bearish retest, you have another bearish retest, you break down. And the only kind of range, and this is pretty nasty in this regard, that we've broken to the upside is this one, right? So we had a range, traded in it, and it broke to the upside. And the most bearish thing that you can see is this kind of breakout that gets engulfed and then you just trade down, right? So the moment you started trading back into this range, that's where you get bearish. And I think the same is true, and this is how I always trade altcoin. If you get back into here, right? Like let's say you get back into this range, then all bets are off. Like you don't want to be fading that move, in my opinion. You want to expect higher. And then maybe this turns into something where it just goes like, you have this range and it goes this. Sometimes that happens, right? And that's fine. Like if you get in here and you just target the upper side of the range, you don't really care what it does up here. But yeah, for me, the best kind of recommendation I can give to altcoin traders, like if you're an investor, just stick with it. I think you like a project, you stick with it. It goes down 75%. It goes down 75%, right? You like it for a reason. And then if it, like, there's projects, I mean, I could show you one. A good friend of mine is in this and has been in this for ages. There's projects that do something like this, right? So, I mean, this is still down a shitload. But, I mean, this is still down, Jesus Christ, still down 97%. But, he's been bullish on this, right? And I've been saying, dude, this is bearish trend, right? And he's like, I like the fundamentals of this, so I'm gonna stick with it. And I mean, I tried to talk him out of his positions pretty much the entire way down. And the last time I tried to talk him out of it was in here, right? And that turned out to be pretty good advice at that time, because then it went down like almost 90% again. But now it like pretty much traded back to where it was back then. So if he sold, he probably wouldn't get another entry. Like let's say he sold down here, and then yes, it's good advice for this time. But I mean, I'm not gonna watch it. I can't give advice to investors all the time, and then it just pumps, and you're out of it, and you like it still fundamentally, and then you're just gonna do something stupid, right? So that's kind of how these things goes. If you're an investor, and you have kind of a reason to be bullish on something, I mean, just be bullish on it. And if you're a trader, in my opinion, you just get in and out on the altcoins. People asking me about shorting this stuff. So in general, I mean, I've done it in the past. I've done a lot of shorting on XRP, for example, right? But like in this case, right? Where did the level go? Did I delete it? Or whatever. I must have deleted it, or it just didn't want to stick around anymore. But yeah, so for example, like people were asking me, okay, should I short this, right? The answer is, I personally don't want to. I don't want to short altcoins when Bitcoin's trading at like 40K, above all-time highs. Generally speaking, altcoins do really well when Bitcoin has an influx of new people, which we've had. It does really well when Bitcoin is putting in a top, which I mean, I wouldn't be surprised about at 40, 50K, at least a midterm top, right? So you have like a few things going for the altcoins, right? You have a lot of new people that would be willing to become back holders unknowingly anyway, for this kind of stuff. So you don't want to be just shorting these, in my opinion. I think it's still like the same is true for Link, right? You look at this, and I was looking at it live like back then. I was like, okay, it's probably gonna go down here. But do I really want to short it? Do I really want to get caught? Like if this puts in a candle like this, which it can, excuse my drawing skills, that's not worth it for me, right? Like the kind of situation that we're in right now is very different from the situation that we've been in for the last 2 years, right? I've been shit talking altcoins for longer than most of you guys can remember, right? People called me always said that I hate altcoins, even though like I've been really bullish on altcoins in the past, right? I mean, I've traded this entire left side all in basically, and not this one, but this entire left side, right? I've traded all of this, but not on Chainlink, but on Neo. Let me give you the chart. So I traded all of, Jesus Christ, this is so long ago that it doesn't even show up anymore. I traded all of this move up, or at least like most of this. For Neo, that was me. And then for Litecoin, the same thing was true. Like I traded this from here to up here. The difference is now, like I was shit talking this for a long time, right? The difference is now that you actually have like a macro backdrop for it to actually go up. So you don't want to be shorting it, in my opinion. Doesn't really make much sense. You see Bitcoin at all-time high. You see hype levels at all-time high. Why would I want to be shorting them, right? The most bearish I would be going to, like, that I'm comfortable with being, is just not being in them, right? And it's more than enough. These are clearly bearish charts still. That's true, but it's not just something that you can just short while Bitcoin's at all-time high. In my opinion, it just doesn't make much sense. Your friend is down a whole lot on BQX, but it could have been worse. He could have sent his coin to the wrong address. Yeah, yeah. I still hope this goes up a shitload and gets completely crazy. So you can just call me every day and talk, tell me about it, because that shit's just so painful. I mean, sent the coins to the wrong address somewhere in this candle, told him to fucking sell everything, and went down like 99%. I lost my coins, couldn't sell. It is what it is. Shit happens. Test pump incoming, I could see that. In general, in my opinion, the best kind of narrative for the altcoins. I mean, you see a lot of people already talk about Altseason, right? And I think that's too early. I think those people are going to be the ones that get, like, Bitcoin goes sideways, the altcoins go up. Bitcoin either moves to the up or the downside, right? And then the altcoins go down and they get completely obliterated, even more so if they're late to the trend. Sometimes it does even like something like this, where it just goes way below where it started at. And then people capitulate. You're gonna see like these. There's this one GIF, whatever you wanna, however you wanna pronounce it, of this elevator with blood. I don't know if you guys remember that movie. I forgot the name of the movie, but that's always how Altseason started back in the day. You saw that GIF everywhere on Twitter, and then the next day everything was stupid green. And I think that's probably gonna happen again. It's not guaranteed, and that's why I'm not trying to kind of talk people out of positions anymore. I tried that for the last few years, and it never worked. Even like the coins went down 90%, I tried to talk people out of them, never worked. Not gonna continue doing so. In like, these coins could go down 50% and then bounce 600, right? I don't want to be the guy that is talking people out of all coins in that kind of environment. With leverage, it's a little bit different. I think if you're trading altcoins with leverage, you have to have really good entries. And I think it's probably most people shouldn't. Most people just shouldn't trade altcoins with leverage. It's just not something that beginners should be doing. But I mean, everyone for themselves, right? If you want to trade altcoins with leverage, trade them with leverage. And if you want to have like long-term success with it, I think you pick your entries, you don't use leverage, and then you have a much more chill kind of time trading them. So we talked about Neo. Let's go down the list, because I think I've not talked about enough. Okay, the next one was FET BTC. That's an old one too. Holy sh! Oh, jeez. What happened with that one? It's just brutal. I remember this one when it launched, it was so hyped everywhere, if I remember correctly. Yeah, this one is a rough one, man. It kind of reclaimed the range bottom, right? So range bottom, pumps, loses it, reclaims it. So, I mean, if you're super bullish on this, right? Like fundamentally bullish on it, and I mean, this is still quite this is one of the ones where you just take a huge loss, but if you like it, it's probably worth it. So, I mean, like, this is one of the ones where you're like, okay, this is either the bottom or it's gonna die. So you're gonna have your manual stop down here. And the reason why I'm saying manual is you don't want to be wicked out of these. With altcoins in general, I don't place hard stops, I just place alerts when I'm deep in them. So what I'm talking about is, for example, if you look at Litecoin, you don't want to be caught in something like this when you're trading altcoins, right? And that's been happening on every exchange over the years, never really changed, right? So you get these wicks, people get stopped out, and you get these massive moves to the upside. Not something you want to be caught in, right? So you have your manual stop loss, which means you're like, okay, if this trades or like closes back below this kind of support on a weekly closing basis, I'm gonna get out, and then you just eat the loss. If it just like if it puts in a red candle like this and closes down there, you just eat a little bit more of a loss. But even then, like you're taking a big loss on this anyway, so your position size shouldn't be too big. And then you just aim for the highs, right? So I mean, aim for the 5x basically, and pray for the best. I mean, this is not a best looking chart, but it did reclaim the range low, right? So if you want to be aggressive about it, it's not the worst kind of place to do so. But it's a scary one because I mean, this trend, you can barely see the green, right? Look at the monthly. It's just been straight down. And on the monthly, it's actually still not above resistance. So maybe even waiting 10 days, 11 days to see if it can actually close, and I might be able to show you what I mean better. So you look for the lowest close of this, right, which is this, and you want to see this monthly candle stay green like this. Still not too convincing given the massive size of the red ones, but I mean, if you like the project, I think that's what I would do. When you have a chart as bad looking as this one, the only kind of reason to get into them is because you like something about it, or you have some insider information, anything. The thing is with crypto, right, and with altcoins and with all of this stuff, getting insider information is actually incredibly easy for pretty much anyone to do, right? Most people just don't want to put in the work because it's going to be easy for every one of you guys to get into a Telegram of any of these coins, the smaller ones anyway. Talk with the devs, talk with the people behind it, talk with the people that actually know what they're talking about, that have been involved with the coin for a while, and then kind of see if there's something there or not, right? It's just a lot of work, and most people just want the quick pumps. But like, if you want to be a good altcoin trader, there's several ways to go about it, right? One, you actually research the shit out of it. Two, you wait for an altcoin window where everything goes up, which we haven't had in a while, besides like sector specific of like DeFi, for example, but you would have had to kind of look into it as well. Like either you just go knee deep into these and then research, and then pick out the ones that are actually good, or the ones that have something coming. It doesn't really matter if they're good or not. It just matters if they're gonna get hyped or not, right? Either you do that, or you just wait for the window to kind of pick up all boats, or you just don't touch them, in my opinion. I mean, you can trade them fully technical as well, just looking for the strong ones. I mean, that would have done you pretty well in the last few months as well. You look for the strong ones and then play the strong ones. This can turn into engulfing. Yeah. I mean, it's not bad. It's just like, I mean, you can, the red candles go off the screen, man. I mean, look at this. You have to. No, it's insane, but that's altcoins for you, right? So that's kind of why I'm warning people. The thing is, it can easily go up 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and people are still going to be underwater on it. Okay, people talked about Raven. I haven't looked at that. It looks really bad, right? Just remember, holy shit. Yeah, like when I look at these kind of things, it's really hard for me to get too bullish on them. Because I mean, this is just not looking good, right? This could go up, this could go down, but I mean, this is very likely to go down, right? It's just, I think there's a lot of altcoins that's just gonna not pump. This could pump, but then again, like, why would I pick this? I mean, this looks even worse than the one that we had before. Why would I look at this if I can look at some other ones that are actually looking good? And I mean, there's other ones, ATH BTC, putting in some green candles, just has to get back through this range here. I mean, this is also one of way back on the stream that we shorted together, shorted this. I took profits way too early and then it dumped all the way into support. I still have this on TradingView, I think, this entire setup. And then dumped and it pumped and it's now back at that range, right? If it can reclaim that range, I think there's a good, like, make a higher high above this one. I mean, where does it stop, right? It's not gonna stop up here. It's not gonna stop here either. So it's gonna go for something like this, which is a really nice setup into a really nice move, right? Because that's an easy ×2 if it does something like that. Whereas with Raven, when you're looking at that, where do you want to go from here? Like, what are you targeting? Where are you stopping out, right? Because so far this just looks like big down days into 3 tiny green candles that are probably going to get engulfed the next time Bitcoin moves. Very little interest there. Me saying this doesn't mean this can't just go up. Like, let's say Raven puts out like amazing news, and this is something that I talked about earlier. Like I said, if you have some insider information, whatever, you can trade these horrendous looking charts anyways, right? You know something is coming on this. And I mean, Raven is one of the ones that funds used to play with a lot before they found that bug that led to this drop or whatever it was. I think it was minting problem or something. But yeah, if you have inside information, this could easily put in like a 300% candle, right? Any of these altcoins can, because they're relatively small. The problem with it is most won't. It's just going to be like a handful that will. So you're going to have to pick and choose. And if you don't have inside information, you're going to pick and choose wrong. So that's a look into, like, when you want to buy this, for example, better be in the Telegram, better be in the Discord, talk with them, see what's up, and then you know, okay, is there something coming or not? Sometimes you can see it on the chart, but on this chart I can't see anything. Like, this just looks shitty to me. Awesome stream, man. I have to go place some trades. Till next time, see ya, man. See ya. Don, can you look at ETH USD, please? Sure, yeah. Did we not look at ETH USD? We actually didn't. So, yeah, ETH USD monthly looks pretty damn bullish. It's spiked above all-time high and then kind of rejected. That's not necessarily the best thing that you could see, but then again, it's not the worst. Like, in general, like these double tops, I mean, even if this pulls back, it's probably gonna blow the top out, right, at some point. I'm not too bearish on ETH, even on the USD pair. It doesn't make much sense to. I think the only kind of reason, and we talked about this last week when we were trading like down here, I think, at 1K or something. The only kind of good reason to get bearish ETH is if it loses this support. It's the best support that we have by a long shot. It's very far from price. If ETH nukes and then goes back below 1K, that could be a shakeout. But if it goes back below 800, I think that would be the start of a new smaller downtrend. Who knows where that's going to go, right? Maybe to the next support, like at 400-ish, whatever. But before it does like break down anything here, it just makes sense to be bullish, right? Even if this pulls back, and if it does pull back in here, that's probably a good dip to buy. If it does fail it, I mean, that would be a sell into lower. But yeah, just because it spiked all-time high doesn't mean you have to be like macro bearish on it. It's something to watch, obviously, but I don't really see a good reason to be overly concerned. It's still looking strong. when should we long on the short term? That's a good question, and one that I can't really give you an answer to, other than, I mean, that was support down here. So if you wanted to kind of trade on the short term side of things, that was support. That was your chance. And I don't think, like, if it goes back in there, would I want to like try again? Not necessarily. But yeah, this is something that you can always do. It almost always works. So you have like a triangle, whatever, goes up, and then the first time it's going to test that, it's almost always going to bounce, and that's what it's done, right? So that's strong bounce. If it does go back below here, you obviously want to take the same trade on the short side, take it from there down to here, and then see where it's going to go, right? But like on the long side, I think that was your best shot, and now it's just washed. That level's washed. So if you want to get into it again, I wouldn't want to do it from the same level. For the people that are already in, I mean, I don't really see a reason why you wouldn't be targeting above all-time high. And if it fails, you just get out. And I mean, in this case, I think even getting out break even is completely fine to do, right? So let's say you got into the screen in the screen box or even below it. If it does go back in there, I wouldn't really want to touch it again. So that's why I would be okay. I'm fine with just sitting this one out. But yeah, that's kind of how I look at these things. People look for weakness all across the board. Almost nobody looks out for relative strength. I mean, yeah, relative strength, I've been talking about it. ETH has relative strength. This is strong in comparison to most other altcoins. And Nano has been strong in comparison to other altcoins. I've been talking about this support for a while. And I've been looking at WeChain, and we've talked about this for a while, actually. The last time was, I think, down here, that WeChain is showing relative strength. And then you have other things like ICX that isn't really. And this XTZ really not doing it either, right? This is weakness, and this is strength. And you can kind of just, I mean, you don't even need my drawings for this. You look at this and you see there's strength there. If it does fail again, it's obviously bad news, right? But it's the same for everything else. If they fail, it's just bad news. But if you compare it to this, like this, we can even compare it directly, right? So you have Nano here. We open up XTC, and I know people are going to have bleeding hearts over this one, but it is what it is, right? Can't change it. Yeah. So I can show you where this started. So you had this downtrend for Nano, right? And XTC had some relative strength. I mean, you can just look. Yeah, I should Nano BTC on another one where I don't have these ugly paintings on. Okay, so here XTC clearly outperformed. I was trading this. I kind of feel like I missed out a little bit. I traded this move pretty much all the way to the high, and then I was just like, okay, I'm done with this. And then it put in the real move from here and outperformed other altcoins, put in a massive rally, and then just gave that back entirely. And now it's putting in a very weak bounce in comparison to this, right? So you can kind of see this is the recent Nano bounce, this is the XTC bounce, this is the recent movement on Nano, this the recent movement on XTC, right? So you can kind of see this is relative weakness. It's shown relative strength before, right? So it was a good pair to trade while it was doing that. Now it's showing relative weakness, so it's not anymore. And now Nano is showing relative strength. So maybe Nano is in this phase where it just puts in another ×2 and then goes from there. In general, the main kind of problem I have with not being able to margin trade right now is that I can't play off of this behavior anymore. I used to kind of look for an altcoin with strength and one with weakness, and I longed the one with strength and shorted the one with weakness, and that kind of puts you at a plus minus zero, right? I mean, you short Like let's say you're shorting 10 Bitcoin of the one coin, you're longing 10 Bitcoin of the other one. If your analysis is correct, and the one coin outperforms the other one, you're going to make gains while not being too exposed to the altcoin sector. Because if the altcoin sector in general goes down, you're still going to make money because yours is going to go down less. And if the altcoin sector in general goes up, yours is going to outperform too, right? And then you can obviously kind of change that up. If you're like super bullish altcoins, long one and then only half size short the other one, that kind of stuff. Like it's really nice to play off of these kind of things. But like I said, I personally can't do it. Something that the non-Germans have advantage over me right now. You ever share your analysis on traditional markets? I mean, sometimes if I feel like it, but I mean, there's not really too much edge there, right? My expertise is in these markets. I mean, I've non-stop moved in these for years now, and I mean, every hour at the computer I have a chart going on one of my screens, and I mean, you do this for 10, 12, 14 hours a day, you kind of get a feeling for it. And that's not something I've been doing for the traditional markets, right? Why aren't you margin trading right now? There's a new tax rule in Germany that kind of screws you up entirely if you do it. So I just still figuring that out while, like I said, I have had some deaths in the family, so I had to take care of that, and then have been moving, and then have had to, because of the deaths in my family, I have had to clean out houses. So it's been volatile few weeks, not only in the crypto markets, but for me as well. MITX, okay, let's see. If it's on a trading view, I'm gonna look at it. Nah, there's nothing. If it's not traded on any kind of reputable exchange, I'd rather not look at it. Where would you pick an entry for ETH BTC? I mean, it's the same for ETH USD, right? So you saw me talk about ETH USD, right? So this was your chance. Now if it goes back there again, I would think that it's probably going to act as resistance because it's still weekly resistance, right? So these low time frame trades that you can take, right? I mean, this is already pretty late in the movement up, where you can. It's hard to just justify buying blindly into. I mean, while you're still in weekly resistance or heading into weekly resistance, right? So anything that you do is low time frame, and this is the week, like this is the dip into that low time frame support area. If it does dip there again, the chances of it holding again is much less likely. It could just take off from here, but like buying here is not really the optimal kind of entry, right? I mean, you could place a stop down here, trade it like from there, and just hope for the massive breakout. But in my experience, and it's not something I would do, it's just a dangerous kind of way to go about things, because what you're essentially betting on is that it just puts in a massive green candle right now. Because if it doesn't, this could easily go back to 0.031 and then still go up a shitload, right? I mean, Bitcoin just has to put in like a 2K candle either direction, and you're gonna probably trade lower again on ETH. So anything that you do in these kind of circumstances has to be low time frame, and your low time frame entry is something like this. So you look at the weekly, you see, okay, this is weekly resistance, we're trading above it. What is this weekly resistance doing on the low time frames? And then if it starts going down, if you see it act as support, you can get in and just base your trade off of that. And then you have a much better position, right? You get in here, you have your stop loss there, and you're just hoping for maybe this high to get taken out or into next resistance up here. Those are the kind of trades that I'm fine with. Those are really aggressive still, right? Don't get me wrong, because like I said, we haven't closed above this weekly resistance. There's a chance it still closes below, right? Something that happens often is you have this resistance and then you trade above it on any time frame really for the longest time, like let's say for the weekly, you trade above it for 5 days, and then you start putting in the wick towards the end of the week, and then you close back below it. So if you put in a position above the resistance, you might turn into the person that is trapped up here while it trades slower then again. And then if it pulls back a little bit before going up, you're going to puke right into where the actual bottom is going to be. So this is like, these are the ones where it's really difficult to do effectively on the low time frames, other than the really aggressive one that we just had like a few hours ago. 100 likes, yeah, I mean, that'd be lit. Just 3 more. So always appreciate those. Kind of feels like people actually liked what I've talked about when people hit that like button. Even though I don't look at it too much, but yeah, I still appreciate it. For long term, it's still good. Yeah, I mean, if you're investing in it, still fine. Like the low time frame, it's just not a trade for me. It's an investment then. I mean, we talked about this down here where it broke through the resistance, and then that's why it turned bullish, right? I wasn't all too hot about altcoins and ETH in general when it was trading in here. I was like, this is not looking too good. Same here, right? And then same here. And then it broke back into the range, and that's where my opinion changed. And that's completely fine for me to do. That's just how I look at these altcoins. I'm more than happy to be bearish from here all the way down here, and then it goes bullish, and then I change my view up here. That's fine by me, right? It's completely fine. And then you have to be quick, right? In the crypto markets, if you're too slow, it's going to be hard to get proper trade going. But as an investment, I mean, I've seen plenty of people invest in this successfully. And if you feel like altcoins are going to outperform, I don't really mind just getting ETH without, like, I mean, if you like ETH, why not get some ETH and then just see how it goes, right? It's how my most profitable investments have gone. I mean, if you want to know how I traded NEO, for example, way back in the day, actually, it's easier to see on the USD pair because I remember it better on. So NEO, right? And this is NEO. This kind of run up, I tried to buy, but Bittrex wouldn't let me. I don't even remember why. Like this run up from 1 to 10. I was trying to buy like frantically on Bittrex. Didn't work. I think maybe my funds just took too long. I don't remember. It was like relatively early in my shitcoin career, right? So tried to buy this and then saw this kind of consolidation and bought as much as I could. And I was willing to see, like I saw my altcoin window pop up. I was like, this is going to go up. I think it's just going to do well. It makes a lot of sense. The narrative fits, right? So I just bought it. Is that a good trade in hindsight? I mean, we can look at it. Well, Jesus, that's kind of... So where I essentially bought on the log frame is in here. Massive rally already, right? And then I just bought in this consolidation. And it's not the easiest kind of trade to pull off if you're putting leverage on it, right? But if you're not, if you're just saying, okay, this is a good window to trade it in, and you just get it, and you don't really have this kind of, okay, I'm gonna stop out if it takes out, like if it goes down 10% kind of deal, then you can hold it much easier. You have to be obviously right? And you're risking a lot more. But it gives you a little bit of freedom. And with like a smaller allocation to something, you can actually trade it better oftentimes. So in this case, went up a shitload. I was right. I was happy. Could have gone the other way too, and then I would have lost big, right? It's just the way these things go, right? So I'm not above just saying, okay, I think if I were in the position, like you said, I think ETH's going to outperform and want to get into a trade, I wouldn't mind just trying it. And if it doesn't work and if it invalidates you, right, and I think invalidation would be below 0.031, I mean, and just take a big fat loss, and that's fine. It all depends on your kind of mentality. If you can't see this double without you on board, it's just how it is. Sometimes you have to kind of take a fat L. With inverse head and shoulders, should you get in on the breaking of the right shoulder? So now is fine based on take profit of measured move. In general, how I trade these in like head and shoulders in general and inverse head and shoulders. I see this, I see this, I see price go up here. I trade from here to down here, and I get out, and I don't trade this. It's the same thing for the inverse head and shoulder. In this case, I didn't. Just didn't trade it. Like I said, been real life busy a shitload. And like I said, I was expecting, or I'm still expecting Bitcoin to kind of fuck with altcoins a little bit, but ETH seems to be relatively immune to it. So I could see ETH perform even if the other altcoins get shit on by Bitcoin. But like with the inverse head and shoulders, the same thing. I see this, and then I see this go back down again, and I just take a punt here and take it up to here. And sometimes, like on the inverse head and shoulders, I'm willing to take it higher. But that's usually how I trade these. I don't like this. Like the traditional way is you wait for this to break, and then you get in. And how a crypto always plays out, it does something like this, and then you completely wrecked. You get the worst entry possible, and then it goes back up. And I mean, I can show you examples for trades that I've taken in the past based on this kind of shit. So if you guys remember, back in 19, end of 19, we saw this nuke. So we had this China pump, how people call it, or how people called it, where people were expecting China to get big on Bitcoin and in general cryptocurrency. We saw this massive short squeeze and then dumped down, right? Put in a low, dumped again, and then pumped. And I was looking exactly like at that. I was looking for a long down here. And then in this case, I just kept it running for a while. But in general, I feel best from here to up here. And that's kind of like, that's why I'm most happy in these kind of trades. And anything above this gets scary. And I think like with the head and shoulders, more so than the inverse head and shoulders, you don't want to be betting on too much of a downside in most cases. But it's just my personal opinion on these matters. The traditional way is you see this forming and you're like, oh, this is a head and shoulders, you see it here, and then you don't do anything, you wait till it plays out, and then you short here and then try to hop in onto, like, catch the overextension, which, it's not my thing. I much rather get in here and trade to here. Or like if I'm mega bearish or mega bullish, just hold it for a little bit longer. This strategy can miss out on big moves though. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? You're a trader. You don't really care about getting every move. You just have to get a few. I mean, it's not, a lot of people kind of misjudge what trading really is, right? Because like you see this and a bunch of people are going to tell you should have bought here, sold here, bought here, sold here, bought here, sold here, bought here, sold here, bought here, sold here. It's not how this works, right? You get opportunity here, you buy it, you try to ride it as long as you can. If you sell here and you bought big here, that's already a big win. And then you just ride spot higher or something, or even if you don't, and then you wait for the next opportunity, you see a blow off top here, you sell that, and then you just wait and wait. And then maybe even like it goes all the way down here, you're still holding, it goes back here and you're like, oh shit, I was wrong, you get out, right? This is like more like trading. You're not taking every single move. It's impossible to do. Like judging the market completely correct all the time, it's impossible to do. You're trying to kind of look for stuff where it's relatively obvious to you that's going up or down. In this case, for me, it was really obvious that it was going to go up. So I took the trade and I didn't even take it all the way up here. I got bearish into 9.5, 10K already. So I didn't take the entire overextension part of it. And I didn't take this entire trade either. I bought down here and then sold way too early. Like the leverage stuff that I bought down here, I already sold into 6K. I'd be mega rich if I held it. But then again, if it went down and I just held it, that wouldn't have done me any well, right? So this is kind of how trading works. You take what you can, and then, I mean, once you're uncertain about or your trade setup has just played out, you just call it quits, right? For example, this trade, right? I took this trade, I shorted. This is pretty much the exact inverse of this, right? So if you look at it, you have a low, lower low, higher low. You have a high, higher high, lower high, right? It's the same kind of setup, invest like head and shoulders, whatever you want to call it, right? I trade these the same way. I shorted this one, I longed this one. In this case, in this case, I held it way longer. In this case, it broke down, and I was expecting it to move lower, but then I was like, it just kind of seems wrong. There's someone buying big, and then it just got out, right? And if I would have just stubbornly held it, I could have in this case, I would be completely fucked by now, right? So you sometimes get out of these trades early, and that's fine. You would hate it. You would absolutely hate it if you were selling your investment up here, right? But that's not really what a trader is trying to do, right? You're just trying to kind of capture the moves that you can. Because, if you're just trying to catch every move, you're just going to burn out. It's not how it works. At least there might be traders out there that can catch every move. I'm happy if I catch the big ones. This year, or like last year, I haven't caught as many as I usually do. Pretty much my margin career from 17 all the way to 2020 has been where I've pretty much caught most moves. And then, 2020, I could have made much, much more if I was much more aggressive. But then again, if I was much more aggressive during these times, I would have lost it all, right? So it's kind of balancing game, and you just kind of have to know yourself and see yourself for kind of where you are. You're gonna have to just kind of judge yourself how you trade the best way. And if you're an aggressive trader that just tries to catch every move, and you can kind of do that consistently, do it. If you're a more conservative trader that just tries to catch the most obvious ones to you, do it. I'm kind of best when the market just looks to go to zero. Pretty much any buy that I've done where it looked like it was going to go to zero has been really good to me. So that's kind of like the best style that I have. Like, let's say this nukes to 18K, I'm going to be there and buying it. And it's going to look like it's going to zero. Not saying that's going to happen, but if it should happen, I know what to do, right? That's kind of where I'm really good at. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, right? There's many, many years that you're going to do this stuff. So you don't have to rush it, right? If you rush it and you try to milk every single move in this, you're just going to give back your opportunities. Like, let's say you get liquidated in here while you have no idea where this is going to go, right? You're not going to have the ability to long this at 18K because you've already lost it all up here. Or you're not going to be there to short it at 60, 70, 80K when it gets absolutely crazy and your mother gets a tattoo of Bitcoin on her ass cheek or something because you don't have money left to do it. So it's kind of, the most important part is just being in the game, and then you're going to see opportunities. The longer you are in the game, you're going to see opportunities and you're going to be able to capitalize on them. And if you're not, if you're around but you can't capitalize on them, that's the worst thing. And I've seen many people be in that situation. I've seen funds blow up in this. Like, good friends of mine heading a fund, getting liquidated while being mega bullish into this drop, and see what happened after. Like, the entire macro was going to go to 100K, and they got liquidated at 5 or 4. And it's like, is that really, like, that's not how you want to end up, right? So you're going to have to be really careful with what you do. Because if you get liquidated 4K before 40, that's much more painful than anything else, right? So, yeah. If it gets to 18K, it'll be confirmation of bear market. No, not really. It's not how Bitcoin works. The shit dumps much more than you think, and it goes up much more than you think. I could see it go to 100K and 20K after. Bitcoin, whenever people say Bitcoin is dead, it just rises from the ashes. And whenever people say if it went to this and this price, it would be dead, it usually goes to this and this price. I mean, I still remember people talking about if Bitcoin goes back below 6K, it's dead. And it dropped to 3 and then went to 40. And then I still remember people saying in here that it's never going to go up. After having said that if it goes below here, it's dead. And then it went to 14K right after. I mean, this shit is just wild, right? And I mean, I'm happy to be along for the ride. But to be able to be along for the ride, you're going to have to kind of be a little bit careful with what you do. And that's just something that I try to teach people. So if you're all in altcoins and something bad happens to altcoins, you're not going to be able to take advantage of something crazy that happens in the market. And if you're all in Bitcoin and altcoins go crazy, right, same applies. So you're going to have to kind of pick your battles wisely. And then, I mean, the all-in kind of stuff is just dangerous in my opinion. It's never really ended well for people. People were telling me about being all in altcoins when Bitcoin was trading at 20K too, and then it went down 95%. So that's kind of my opinion. We went way overboard today. I actually have a lot of stuff to do still, so I'm going to have to head off. But I really appreciate you guys sticking by. It's been a little bit of a monologue kind of stream, so I'll try to do that better next time. Get through a little bit more altcoins with you guys, but yeah, appreciate you coming by. Appreciate Bybit for sponsoring the show. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. They've been a pleasure to work with. They don't really limit anything we do or say. Just happy to support us. So really appreciate their support. And yeah, thanks for coming by. Thanks for listening to me rambling. Thanks for interacting, and we'll see each other maybe on Friday if I can manage. Like I said, internet's a little bit hard to do right now, but I think I should. So yeah, probably see each other Friday. Bye bye.